Hi, in this video I want to talk about perfecting to perfect again. So I guess this idea is how you perfect things, how you feel like, oh, I'm going to accomplish some very serious goal, and I'm going to accomplish something, I'm going to perfect it, I'm going to get it done as thoroughly and as completely as possible, and then you perfect it, and you almost question why perfect it. Obviously, that's the goal, is to perfect things, but the point is almost self-defeating when you realize perfecting something is only going to lead you to go through all the perfection process, all the deprivation, all sorts of adversity, pain, work, or whatever it is, to go on to something else, to perfect something again. And this is almost a good analogy to realize, to go through the deprivation to get the satisfaction. You go through a momentary amount of satisfaction to achieve whatever perfection, whatever you want to. You go through a long process of accomplishing something you want to accomplish, and then you accomplish it, and you perfect it to whatever degree you want to perfect it to, whatever you consider good enough, and you perfect it good enough, and then you move on to something else. And you do that to perfect again. It's just another analogy, another example to use to discuss the deprivation, the futile, pointless nature of existence, of redundancy and pointlessness, just to go through a negative over and over again. And it's pointless in the way that and I guess another thing to discuss is it's pointless discussing the fact that you're just doing the same redundant process. It's a projections of value of redundant processes, of doing the same old redundant processes over and over again based on only escaping a negative deprivation that you're experiencing. You're not experiencing anything else. It's a redundant process of just doing I win, saying I win based on everyone else losing. So you're losing a pointless game. It's a pointless game that you're losing, and you think you can win, but the winning is a delusion. So yes, this game is about winning a losing game, trying to win a losing game, a pointless game, but losing. You're trying to win and you're trying and thinking you're winning a pointless game, but you're losing. A pointless losing game. So you satisfy yourself, you distract yourself with all sorts of obsessions and addictions. And these addictions are the things that drive us and the purpose we have in existing on this planet, living this life, living this sentience, living this neurology. And that's the thing that we rely on, are these addictions. Relying on these addictions, but needing to satisfy them more the more we use them, because we're not going to get the same satisfaction. Often, if you're not going to work on the addiction, if you're not going to increase the addiction, you're not going to really do much. And the more you use it, the more you're going to have to abuse it. Otherwise, you're not going to get the same satisfaction. And the more you perfect something, the more you want to feel like you're going to perfect something else next time. So the more you perfect something, you're just going to perfect it to move on to another task or another thing you want to perfect, to want to perfect that one again. So you're going to perfect something to want to perfect something else. So perfection doesn't really accomplish anything. Whenever you feel like you're accomplishing something as well as you do, you're satisfied. You got something done. You're satisfied. It's not necessarily escaping something. You accomplished something. The things you think you've accomplished. Okay, I accomplished the painting I wanted to finish. It's perfect. It's satisfying. I'm satisfied. I finished something I've been working so long on. But you've worked on it to reach an end. So it's either you say, I'm done, or you say I'm going to move on to another subject and move on and do another and try to perfect something else. Be obsessed, be addicted. Put my life on the line by putting this thing, putting the welfare of my life based on an obsession and a perfection that I find, putting my life and my welfare on the line based on something I find so important enough that I want to perfect. So if I need to perfect it, the thing that's driving me, I want to get it done, and I want to be satisfied based on these addictions of wanting to satisfy them. If I rely on that so much, it's going to be a detriment. At that point, if you're not satisfying that perfection or that satisfaction of the addiction that you have to, say, accomplishing something, then you're not going to be really having much of a goal or much of a drive or a passion to be doing much of anything. That's the thing that drives us, is the deprivation, and that's the point. The thing that drives us is our deprivation, and it is a pointless, futile game, just avoiding the negative and relying on the uphill boulder push just to go back downhill to do it another again. Whatever way you want to do it, it's just up and down, up and down. Like I mentioned, the ball going back and forth. It's not really doing anything, or the pendulum knocking both balls on both ends on each side. It's just going right back down and knocking the other side up, going back down, knocking up and down, up and down. And it's not really accomplishing anything. It's just doing the same old thing over and over again. And it's redundant. I guess that's another way of looking at it. It's just the same old redundant process of, yeah, it's doing this, so it's sort of going in and out. It's going in and out. It's going up and down, left and right. It's just moving a direction. Movement. That's our existence is movement. It's moving a direction. Moving left to right, up to down. It's interacting. It's moving, bouncing back and forth. That's all we're doing. We're just moving back and forth. My head's moving, my arms are moving, I'm moving, my mouth is vibrating, allowing me to speak, even though barely, because my throat is extremely sore, because I can barely speak, because I've been talking too much. Or it might be something even worse. But I've been talking, there's also, it's just a bunch of movement. And that's the experience, the general experience of my existence, and everyone else's existence. The movement would be irrelevant without the sentient beings. We wouldn't care, we wouldn't know, it wouldn't matter if we didn't know it. But we wouldn't know it, and we can only not know it if we didn't exist. But we can also not know it, but the movement is existing. We at least understand that. It would take us not existing for that possibility not to be there. But that's all we're doing. And that realization does come with its downsides, I suppose, because that's really all we're doing. It does simplify a lot of things, even though the things surrounding those things, how many in and outs are going on, can be complicated. It's just a bunch of in and outs in the end. It's just a bunch of little dots, a bunch of little atoms. They're very easy and simplistic, but like the in and outs, they can be surrounded by all sorts of complicated in and outs, and there's in and outs here and in and outs there, and you just end up going left, right, up, down, left, right, up, down, but it still ends up at a single point. It doesn't matter, it's still a bunch of left rights. It's just, there's nothing more than left rights. It's just there's a bunch of left rights that make up a whole thing. And in the end, it doesn't matter how many left rights you have. Left, rights, up and downs. Or even just left rights. You're just doing this. You don't even see where you're going. You just see a line getting slightly bigger because you went more lefts this time, you went more rights that time. But it doesn't even matter, even if you have left, right, ups, downs, angles, you're just still going to end at one point. It's going to be one point in the end, and that's the thing. It's still very linear. It's still just up and down. It's just left and right. It's just going to end in a point anyway, so it doesn't really matter in the end. Like I mentioned, it's just going to be a scribbled line back and forth. You just see, oh, I want a little. The line's getting a little longer on both sides, but sometimes we just reach that tip, and we're just sort of stuck in the middle from here on out. Or the line, like I mentioned before, it's just going to end in a point. Doesn't matter if you do this or you just go straight up. It's going to point, or you can do this. It's still a point over here. It's just a matter of where the point is. It's still a point. And the point, when they're both points, it doesn't really matter because they're just both points. They're both simplistic like atoms. It's just a bunch of left, rights, up, downs. It doesn't matter. It's a point, or it's just a line that have a point on the end. So that's really all we're doing, and that's a good metaphor, I would say, to discuss it, I guess. So, yeah. I mean, there's not much else to discuss on this. It's a very simple idea. So yeah, the perfect again. You're perfecting to perfect something else. Okay, I perfected this. I went through the obsession and addiction, the heart, the blood, the sweat and the tears to get through this satisfaction, to go on to something else. So it doesn't really matter, obviously, unless the perfection is going to accomplish some goal better for, generally speaking, the most people. If it can be accomplished, if all the pain was good, best for the most people, then obviously it was worth something. But it's best just to get to the point instead of just doing it for the best. Okay, we keep on doing the satisfaction over and over again, but it's just doing it, and we're not reaching the ultimate satisfaction. We're not reaching the ultimate end, which I would argue is just end. The eradication, the extinction. The slow dwindling population. But regardless, it's only so much we can do about this. So you perfect, I get something done. Oh, what's the next project I can do? It's just redundancy. I perfect, I go through all the addiction, I go through all this, the adversity, the deprivation, all that stuff, just to want to perfect it once more. It doesn't really mean anything. So it all just doesn't serve any function. So, yes. Anyway, I guess that's all I want to mention. If I missed anything, I can always mention another video, so... Yep. Perfect to perfect again. Nice little saying, I guess. So yes, thank you, and until next time. Bye.